We are sorry to interrupt that press conference, but there is a breaking story unfolding involving the deaths of nursing home residents on the North Shore. We are told that the Louisiana Health Department is investigating. Many nursing homes were evacuated from the South Shore. And we understand that all of these residents were taken to one particular facility, and they use the word loosely, it's in quotes, to Independence. And Erica Ferrando, she is on the story. She is standing by. We understand that 4 patients have died and more are being taken to the hospital.
This is just a scary and tragic situation out here. We're outside Waterbury Companies. It's a big warehouse in Independence that's north of Hammond. And right now, workers are relocating some of those nursing home residents who evacuated here on Friday to escape from Hurricane Ida. We learned from the Louisiana Department of Health that 4 of these nursing home residents died after evacuating here. 3 were classified as storm-related deaths. We don't have more information about their exact causes of death, but we know that about 850 patients were here. We had multiple sources confirm that this is where those nursing home residents were staying and where those deaths occurred. I actually spoke with one of the workers. We're not sharing his name, but he said that this did not surprise him because the conditions were so poor. The way he described it, it sounded like cots were piled on top of each other. He said at one point water made it into the building and they had to relocate some of those patients to higher ground. LDH said they got complaints about deteriorating conditions at the facility after Ida made landfall. The LDH inspectors tried to visit the site, but they said they were not allowed in by the workers. LDH said they have significant concerns about the conditions in this facility. They've been evacuating these residents all day. They're still evacuating them. They came from nursing homes from 7 different facilities. And upon rescuing them, we learned that 12 of the residents were found to be in a condition where they needed hospitalization. LDH says this is a serious and active investigation and said they will be taking action against these nursing facilities and they'll be making appropriate referrals to law enforcement. Now I'm going to give you a list of the 7 facilities. They're from Southeast Louisiana. River Palms Nursing and Rehab, that's in Orleans Parish. South Lafourche Nursing and Rehab in Lafourche, Maison Orleans Healthcare Center, Park Place Healthcare Nursing Home in Jefferson Parish, West Jefferson Healthcare Center in Jefferson Parish, Maison DeVille Nursing Home in Terrebonne, and Maison DeVille Nursing Home in Harvey. And we believe that all of those nursing homes have the same owner, and it also appears that he owns this warehouse as well. Of course, we're still learning a lot about this situation. We have questions into LDH. We're trying to learn where exactly they're taking them to.
If you look behind you, either they're trying to protect the privacy of the patients or they're trying to prevent the media from getting shots of them evacuating these patients for a second time.
You know, they had 850 residents in there, and the worker we spoke with said, you know, the other concern is, of course, COVID. We're still in a pandemic, and you had just residents piled basically on top of each other in here. We just saw another man come out on a stretcher.
You mentioned that the LDH, they went there, they tried to take a look at what was inside to get an idea of the living conditions, and they were not allowed to go in?
They tried to come in for an inspection. It sounds like they received some complaints and were not allowed in, which I'm not sure how that is, you know, possible or legal, that LDH wouldn't be allowed in for an inspection, but that is what LDH said. LDH says they are very concerned about this and now are making sure that all of these nursing home residents have a safer place to get to. Someone called into this station and said that they have a relative who was one of the residents who was staying at one of these nursing homes, and they assume evacuated here as well. They said they have no idea if their relative is okay, no idea where she is now. They have not been told anything.
Okay, and that's what I would assume is happening to residents all over Southeast Louisiana and quite frankly all over the country now, because they think that their loved ones are going to be out of harm's way because they believe they've been placed in in the care of somebody who will keep them safe during a hurricane.
And Karen, according to LDH, it was about 9:45 this morning when they had already evacuated 721 of the residents. So it does look like they're trying to move quickly. But, here it is 3 o'clock and we can still see some of these residents leaving the facility.
If they're crossing parish lines, would the state be involved? And you're looking at one of the patients. This is earlier. I can't tell if those are swollen feet. And if they are, that is beyond heartbreaking. Yes, those were swollen feet. Wow.
It sounds like they're being taken to some different shelters, but hopefully the families are able to get in touch with them. I told you we spoke with one of the workers who was inside who said that these 4 deaths did not surprise him.
Just wasn't enough room. Living conditions wasn't good. It was too crowded. Just didn't have enough people.
What kind of living conditions are we talking about?
People sleeping on mattresses on the floor. That's need air mattresses and stuff like that. People couldn't get hydrated because just too many people had to step across people to take care of people.
And we learned that 4 people died. Do you know what happened?
No, ma'am.
Does it surprise you?
No.
Why?
Because the conditions wasn't good enough. I know it wasn't going to be safe for the residents and for the workers. And did the best we could with what we had.
Did it flood at all?
Yes.
What happened?
One of the rooms flooded up with water. We had to get everybody out.
Heartbreaking and very concerning situation that we're watching unfold out here.
That was among the most gut-wrenching interviews I think I've ever heard. Do we know if maybe it was one of the workers that reached out quietly to the state?
That's a question that I hope we get an answer to as well. Was it a worker? Was it a family member? We don't know that right now. Who actually possibly made this complaint to LDH? LDH basically just said that they heard conditions were bad and tried to show up to check it out. We don't know how they heard this, but it very well could have been, because if we hear this worker saying that he's concerned, did someone like him make a call and say this is unacceptable and we need help?
I mean, because you heard that gentleman say he anticipated this would happen, and this, we know, includes 4 deaths.
He said they had food, they had water, they just didn't have the people to get it to all these people. I mean, just based on what we're seeing, we're seeing people on stretchers, people on wheelchairs. So these are not elderly people who can all just take care of themselves and get themselves water or food when they need it. They need these workers to take care of them. And it sounds like they just didn't have enough people to do that.
No, and then when he talked about just the proximity of patient to patient, he brought up the COVID concerns.
They basically had no privacy. So that tells me that it may just be a big open warehouse, because they had to, change them and tend to their medical needs all just basically on top of each other in this big warehouse. And this is all during a pandemic, as we know. Now, I have seen the workers wear masks. We heard from one of the family members of one of the residents. It sounds like they called into our newsroom, and I was texting with one of our staff members who was told that the relative had no clue if their family member was okay, no idea where they were. They hadn't been told anything. He also just told me that they were told Friday their loved ones were going to a sister facility, quote, sister facility in Independence, and that's all the information that they were giving. So we do believe that this warehouse is owned by the same person who owns or runs all of those nursing homes on the South Shore, but I guess they called this a sister facility, which we can clearly see that this is not a nursing home facility.
We have updates to that disturbing story that we brought you earlier this afternoon. Our investigative team has found 800 nursing home residents were evacuated from a warehouse on the North Shore. Actually, they were taken there before Hurricane Ida. 4 of them have died, and at least 12 of them were hospitalized. And Erica Ferrando's been following the story all afternoon.
We are outside Waterbury Companies. This is a big warehouse over in Independence. This is north of Hammond, and we know that they are transporting hundreds of nursing home residents who evacuated here for Hurricane Ida to a safer shelter here. LDH told us earlier today that they received complaints that these were bad conditions for these residents. LDH showed up to inspect. They were turned away. They were not allowed inside, and we have been here all afternoon as they have been taking these nursing home residents from this facility to a safer place, and we're learning that they're taking them to different shelters. But we know that a lot of families have been asking questions. It sounds like they have not been in the loop as to what was going on. We learned that 4 of the residents who were staying here have died, and according to LDH, 3 of the residents who died here, it was storm related. I spoke with one of the workers. We're not sharing his identity, but he did tell me that he expected this, that the conditions were so poor that he expected one of these residents or multiple of these residents to die. And so now they are taking the residents who are still here to a safer location. I want to let you hear from that worker who talked about the conditions that are inside this facility.
It was real bad, real bad.
Wow.
Just couldn't take it. It's too many people in one spot. We can't flow like that.
Yeah.
You know, stepping across people, it wasn't good at all. And I felt bad for them, real bad, really, truly bad.
What about like food and water? Was there enough of that?
It was enough. It just wasn't enough people to get it out to the people. They can't take care of themselves.
Yeah. What finally made them decide that they need to get them out of here?
I don't know, the big people, I don't know what happened. I just came and they said in 24 hours, everybody got to be out of this building. FEMA and everybody started coming in, busting the people out.
Give me just like a picture of what it looks like in there.
We didn't have privacy to take care of them. There's too many people, no privacy. You changing everybody right by everybody. And with the COVID, it just wasn't enough space. It was just awful.
The conditions were so poor that he expected this. We thank that man for sharing, just a little insight as to what it was like in there. He was clearly very heartbroken and concerned about what they were dealing with inside this facility. We're learning that the owner of this facility is the same owner of these 7 nursing home facilities, and one of the family members who reached out to us said they were not getting any information and that they were told on Friday that all of the nursing home residents were being taken to a, quote, sister facility. So we have seen these ambulances leave with the residents all afternoon, and we're not sure who was actually making the complaints to LDH, but they said that they showed up and tried to inspect, and they were told to leave.
You entrust these nursing home owners to take care of these people who are the most vulnerable of our society, and yet this is how they get treated, and that's just deplorable.
And while we're watching this live shot there on the left of the screen, Katie, it was my understanding from LDH that because it was not a mandatory evacuation situation, each individual nursing home is left up to itself to determine when and where to evacuate.
Absolutely. I mean, they all have to have emergency preparedness plans that they file with both federal and state officials. So each nursing home is required to submit their plans for what they're going to do in the event of things like this.
The 800 plus nursing home residents that evacuated here to this warehouse have now all been relocated. Take a look at this warehouse. It's called Waterbury Companies. It looks like just some cardboard, some clothes. We can see some milk cartons. And if we pan all the way over to the right, you can just see a bunch of wheelchairs. We've seen masks and gloves all just thrown about on the ground. That's where those ambulances were actually picking up those residents. Now we want to show you a picture from inside the facility. This is from one of the workers. They shared this picture with us. You could just see a crowd of people and cots all across the warehouse. It just gives us a glimpse of where these residents were staying. They evacuated here from 7 nursing home facilities, and today we've witnessed dozens and dozens of ambulances take the residents by hospital bed, wheelchair, to new facilities. We learned from LDH that 4 of the nursing home residents died after evacuating here to Tangipahoa on Friday. 3 were classified as storm-related deaths. We don't have more information about the exact cause of deaths, but we know it was about 850 nursing home residents that were staying here. I spoke with one worker member, we're not sharing his name, but he said that it did not surprise him because the conditions were so poor. He said he expected this. And the way he described it, he just said it was hundreds of cots piled in there. He said at one point they had to move some of the residents because water was inside the building. Some family members have been showing up here when they heard about this. They say they didn't receive a call or hear anything online from the nursing home facilities. They say they found out on the news, and of course they were upset, frustrated, and just wondering where their loved ones were. Two sisters showed up. Their mom is a resident of South Lafourche Nursing Rehab. Take a listen.
Because she wouldn't answer my questions because she said she just kept saying, I can't hear you, I can't hear you. But I mean, I knew she was alive at least. And like I said, didn't know the conditions. Had we known, I would have came and get her for sure.
So do y'all have any idea where she is now, or you're not going to?
I did talk to a nurse this morning, so we just thought we'd ride out here, see if they were still here, because news media is showing them just getting the people out of here.
How did y'all find out about what was going on?
Media.
And what was your initial reaction?
Well, as soon as she got to me today, we came straight here.
And we're actually still seeing some of those family members show up. A man just showed up a minute ago, and he was asking about one of his loved ones.
It only would have took one phone call to any family member even. I don't know if anybody else was told anything, but we weren't. We still haven't been told anything.
When did you become aware of this situation? And were you
on the TV, yes, I was shocked. Very much so.
Of course, this was very hard for all of these families to learn today. Independence Police are here. You can see them behind us. It doesn't look like any of the workers are here. And of course, all the residents have now left. We've tried reaching out to the Independence Police Chief. We haven't heard back from him, but we also know, as the governor mentioned, multiple agencies are now investigating. Live from Independence, Erica Ferrando, Eyewitness News.
Well, the hurt and shock you have to feel when you learn of your loved one being hurt inside of this nursing home, possibly ill or in the hospital. Erica, thank you so much.